welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 110. I'm your host, Sigma. Just before I let you know who's joining me this week, real quick, we're going to go over what our topics shall be. First up, Final Fantasy XIV finally is coming to Xbox. It's been a long time coming. There was a big announcement. Phil Spencer on stage with the producers. It's finally coming, and there's talk that there will be more Square Enix Xbox collaborations in the future. We're going to talk about maybe what that actually looks like. After that, we did not get to this the last show we had, but the SAG-AFTRA has essentially voted to go on strike. So, along with the Writers Guild of America, the Screen Actors Guild is now on strike. So, Hollywood is kind of in a crisis state right now, and we're going to talk about like kind of what that means and some other situations that are happening in that area. And here today to discuss these things with me, Blue Bones,
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue Bones, BLUB0NES.
as well as the Fat Stacks.
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Nice to have you both. Welcome. Before we get into the nitty gritty of these topics, we usually like to start with what we've been playing, watching, etc. But for the both of you guys, it's actually been a while since you've been on the show. So if you have any other like stuff you want to share, like feel free to just throw that in there. So if anyone wants to jump in, let me know.
You want to go first, Fatty?
I'll go first. Yeah. Well, Diablo, as y'all can see, it's about the only thing I've been doing.
Yeah, that came out very recently. It seems like people like it.
So, because I had played Diablo 3 and I was like, I think I talked about it last time I was on your show. It's like I was waiting on this one to come out. So I'm like,
so you like lukewarm on 3, like you weren't like really into it.
It was all right for me because it was one of my first Diablo games playing. So obviously I knew about like the replay value, the seasons and all that. Like I'm not really interested in the seasons as more I am in when they come out with new characters to play.
Sure.
Right.
So like right now I'm trying to get my Necromancer to 100. So I'm kind of waiting on Blood Knight to drop. I really don't care about the season as much.
That's gonna be crazy.
That's a new class, Blood Knight.
Yeah. So that they announced
right now. Right?
So I remember hearing about that. Like there was like some big announcement, and folks got disappointed because it was for the mobile game rather than the Diablo 4 proper. But it is coming to Diablo 4 eventually.
That's the rumors right now.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's what I seen. Yeah,
confirmation.
But yeah, last time I seen when they were talking about a new class, Blood Knight is supposed to be the one supposedly that's coming out because I know people they were looking at. That was the only class I've seen so far. Now I don't know when. So, but some of the other classes from last, I think Crusader and Paladin were other ones where some people were like asking for something like that. So, but I personally like the game. I like the fact that because right now I'm playing a build that's pretty difficult to play. Sometimes you got to cheese in certain certain dungeons to, for certain things. And I play the golem and
solo play for the most part.
Yeah, because I play the minion and golem setup. That's all I play. That's all I run. So only problem is that you don't have a lot of stuff for it.
Oh shit! Right.
You don't have a lot of gear for a minion golem build per se. So gotta mix and match, and you're vulnerable because once that minion and golem is gone, you're pretty much at the mercy of whatever else is showing up. So. But other than that, I heard Blue Protocol. I know a lot of people probably don't have this game on their radar, but Blue Protocol, that's for PC.
Yeah, what is that? What is Blue Protocol?
I tried to sign up for the beta.
So, it's one of those kind of RPGs. I think it's like open world RPGs. Blue probably know more about it, but I've been watching it for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. And they've announced, like, it's been one of those ongoing projects. It's like, I won't say it's like Genshin Impact, but it does have like the whole. You have a tank class, a mage class. I forgot what the other.
Like you cycle between a roster of people in an action RPG. In that sense, it's like Genshin. Like you're playing multiple characters.
You pick a class. You pick a class and you play.
So it's more like a traditional MMORPG, but this looks very fluid. It looks the class system that they're kind of talking about.
Blue
yeah,
Protocol.
just it's it's been on a lot of MMORPG players' radar for a long time, especially on the PC realm for a long time, and it's starting to come to fruition right now. There's some beta testing, and if you see some trailers, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
This looks really. I get the comparison to Genshin Impact because of the look.
Yeah,
Like it's
style,
very
yeah.
like stylistic anime flash. Huh, but it is action RPG, so this isn't turn based. This is running around, combos, all that stuff.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
But it's supposed to be an MMORPG.
Yeah, and as fast as this is, I guess that's what people are excited about. You know, me personally, when you have class systems like this, you got I love tanks because tanks control the field
Right.
rather than deal damage necessarily. You know what I'm saying? So seeing how they control the field uh, in any kind of game and any kind of speed is really freaking cool to me. And I'll talk about that later when I get to my side. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm excited to see in Blue
Okay.
Protocol.
Yeah, this was not on my
Yeah.
radar, but yeah, I'll
Yeah, it's
keep looking out
it,
for it now, I guess.
yeah, it's one of those that's been sitting for like a long time. But it's I think it's only for PC right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Is this supposed to be like a
Yeah.
free to play thing or?
I don't know.
Yeah, that part I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm
All right.
just I'm hoping it comes to console, but games like that usually are on PC for a while.
Or PlayStation at the very least.
Amazon's doing this game, by the way.
Oh, Amazon's behind this?
So
Interesting.
I think that's a recent development too, by the way. I don't think it was always Amazon.
so
Hold on, let
that
me see where
and
the dev is from. Like, because if this is like Chinese or Korean.
yes.
Oh no, this is Bandai Namco.
Yep. That's the
I
case.
also see Sony logos under. Oh no,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, they have all the consoles on here: PS5, Xbox Series S.
Oh,
and
they have it
X.
on there?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I
So,
said, I haven't
I
looked
guess you'll
at
get
it
your wish.
in
Yeah,
I haven't looked at it
it's
in
coming to
years,
consoles.
but this thing has been in development for a long
Nice.
time. So that and Chrono Odyssey, that was another one I was looking at. There's also another Souls game that's similar to Souls, but it's like open world. I think that's Chrono Odyssey. I look at it like a dead. What's that game that I used to play a lot? Bless Unleashed. That's what Chrono Odyssey reminds me of.
Yeah, you definitely played that a
Yeah,
lot.
Bless
I
Unleashed.
remember that.
And I like Bless for what it was, but that's just me. So,
And for
you know,
Tyrell, who's asking in chat, we're talking about Blue Protocol, not Grand Blue Fantasy, which
That
does
is
have a new game very similar to this coming out soon.
yeah, I think it's a fighting. They already have a Grand Blue fighting
Yeah, there's a
version,
fighting game. Now they're doing an action
and
RPG. I think
yeah,
Relink is the subtitle.
so yeah, Grand Blue. Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about that one. But I say if you're gonna play an MMO, yeah, Blue Protocol would probably be it. Because if once that drops, you're gonna have a lot of people shift to that before people start getting used to that game. People are gonna have to see that gameplay first before they catch a feel onto it. But some of us that's played MMOs for a while or action RPGs for a while, we already know what time it is once Blue Protocol drops. So you know,
Nice.
so that's
So
like,
there's like a lot of buzz for this in that community.
yeah. But like I said, you got to be one of those that's like the genre that you play constantly per se. To be
Gotcha.
fair, you know what I mean. So, but other than that, I haven't. Shoot, PSO's kind of taking a backseat. Really, they've now uplinked the levels to 75. The levels are all up on all the classes now, so I gotta go back and re-get new weapons. So that's about a whole 6 months worth of work with the time.
That's crazy that you said
Man,
that's
how do
six
you
months of
feel?
work for a like. Is this not a game that you're playing and enjoying?
So I
How do
just
you feel about that? Like, because I've heard like horror stories of like couples breaking up and like somebody deletes like a game file and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh my god, all my work," right? And I feel like they're just doing that to you willingly in that game right now. They just 6 months. Come on, do it again.
Well, what I mean by
Is it
6 months
long?
is just it's gonna take that long to get. I mean, you don't lose your levels or anything like that. It's because like the levels, I got most of the classes to level like 70, got level 70 weapons. Like I was real close to maxing out almost everything. And
Right.
then now, once they put it out to level 75, and of course added newer weapons, newer star gear. So now it will take 6 months or longer to go back and, all right, I'm gonna do this class first, get everything. Like I like to tag one at a time, little by little.
So I mean,
So
you're basically min maxing everything on every class. Like, but like a 5 level increase to the cap. If you were playing like maybe one character, does that still take like a like is that a medium amount of content to grind for, like 5 levels, or is it actually relatively quick for like a single class?
I mean, if you're depending on the class, like you do have areas where you can level up pretty quick. Don't get me wrong,
Uh huh.
but the reason why I say for me is because of the timeline that I have to play.
Sure.
So,
I see what you're saying. I
like,
see what you're saying. Okay. I was like,
if
dang, they really adding that much content.
nah,
That's
like
that's what was stressing me out.
nah,
Okay,
if you're
Got you.
sitting on the game, you can probably get it done. And if you're doing every class,
Yeah,
like if you're putting in like just that time, you could probably do it in a month, month and a half.
like you
Like
got
if you really
you
sitting on
got
it like that.
you got food at the house. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like no responsibilities. You
yeah, you know what I'm
saying
saying?
you punk,
Like,
you got this? Okay, I feel it. Okay, that's typical.
you
That's not
know,
bad. Okay,
but yeah,
okay.
other than that, like I really haven't those are really the only games really. Now when it comes to like anime and stuff, like,
Mhm.
obviously this behind me here, this is one of them.
Chainsaw Man.
So I'm waiting on Chainsaw Man to come out with the next season. Um
Let me tell
Jobless
you.
Reincarnation, second season is out. So that's interesting. It's starting to go in its other arc. What are
That's
some
deep
ones
right there.
I finished watch?
I'm
Obviously, I
talking.
still haven't watched the last half of Attack on Titan yet. I'm just kind of waiting until it's like done.
Same. Like I
My
fell
wife
into
is
that
doing
trap.
the same thing. She said, like, it's way too many emotions for me to be waiting week to week
Yeah,
on
I'll just
this.
I'll
especially
just wait on
especially when they
wait until
first announced, oh, this is the final season, and then ended on
yeah
a cliffhanger to tell you, oh, it's final season part 2, final season part 3. I'm like, all right, guys, when it's done.
The final season.
They
yeah.
tripping.
It's kind of like the same thing with My Hero. I'm just kind of waiting. I need to go back and watch season 5, but I haven't watched none of season 6 yet. I've seen clips of some of the fights and stuff. I believe it's even season 6. Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting until the other season comes around, then I'll watch 6 and 7 together. You know what I mean? When it's
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
smart play to save that up, because like I was the same. Like I had like 2 full seasons to go through, and man, did I hit, like I went through that fast.
fast.
Yeah, like because like it is good, but like it was so
In succession.
fast. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I need more.
There's like so
It was so
yeah,
fast.
I've learned to kind of just wait for a couple seasons because a lot of times you can sit there and watch. Like if you ain't got nothing to do, or you just doing something and you just kind of watching anime on the side for a little bit, you just kind of like you go through a whole season in a blink, So
That's how I caught up on Bob's Burgers.
it's like,
That's a
That
great
hurt
show.
my feelings. And I didn't realize it. I was like, why is it playing Family Guy right now? And I went back to Hulu and I was like, come on, man, go back to Bob's Burgers. I was like, wait, I've already seen everything. What do you mean? Yeah, I know. It was mid meal. Sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
oh, you good. But yeah. Other than that, man, that's kind of, man. It's funny because I don't even live in reality no more. That's what I feel like. It's either what I mean by that is either anime or I'm going to work per
Yeah.
se. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I barely watch like actual shows now. Because this is what I do. Because obviously anime is what I do. So
Sure.
I gotta stay.
Okay.
So I gotta stay on top of like what's good, what people might like.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, when you turn your passion into a job, all of a sudden it's a job.
Yeah. So like Hell's Paradise is that was a good one. If you
I've been
haven't
hearing
seen
good
season
things
one,
about that.
I need to catch up.
if you haven't seen season 1 of Hell's Paradise, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
Nick DOG
But
in
yeah,
chat
that
says reality blows anyway. Kick-ass graphics, but gameplay blows is 100% pay
Yep.
to win.
And you can't even change the difficulty, bro.
yeah, yeah.
Like that shit sucks. You just like stuck at one difficulty,
Hard.
But
like one spawn point. Like
but yeah,
anyway.
it's been interesting to say the least. So yeah, and One Piece Gear 5 Luffy. Yeah, I'm waiting for that episode.
Yeah, I've been
That should be
hearing rumblings
pretty.
of that too. Folks are all waiting for that
That
to pop up in the
just
anime, right?
I've
yeah.
been hearing about that for the last like year.
I'm
And
already
I'm just
I'm
like,
already looking to get Gear 5 Luffy figures. That in itself, him being Gear 5 is pretty nice to see. So
Yeah, I'm gonna catch up eventually.
that's it for me.
Nice. Blue, did you want to jump in? Or you were trying to go
yeah.
last for some
No, it's
reason?
okay.
No.
No, I won't be that dramatic. Yeah, so Friday night came back to streaming. It's been a long time. It felt good, you know. I feel like I did it right, you know. I started off with a muted mic, so it was just like,
That's how it be.
you know what I
That
mean. I
classic
just
streamer struggle.
it is just like riding a bike. So yeah, no, we had a good turnout. We had a lot of fun. We did the triple threat. We did Exo Primal, and I was really kind of trying to show folks what I've been playing. So you know, just going over that Exo Primal. That's been really fun on Game Pass. Kind of going on what I was talking about earlier about tanking at high speeds.
Are you playing that shield suit?
I play all of them.
Oh, okay. You're
And
just
that's
jumping
the
around.
cool thing. That's the greatest thing about Exo Primal is that you can switch for the occasion, right? You run it up into one spot and there's a T-Rex and you're like, okay, look, I want to play the samurai dude so I can get some good counters off and pop this dude off. Choo, 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 choo. Next, as you're going to the next section, you see a Triceratops is coming up. I need to change the shield dude to stop his charge. Boom, you do that right there on the spot and keep it pushing. Like the game sense and the knowledge of all the suits makes you such a great player in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun. And when you have teammates who do the same thing, they're like, okay, I'm going to stay support, but I need to get off the ground. I'm going to stay Skywave. So they're going to be flying up and just dropping heals the whole time instead of being on the floor doing some other stuff. So I love it. I dig it. And they're growing, they're adding some stuff. And I think the story was like some old school Gundam stuff. And it was actually for a Capcom game, the story was really decent. Like,
Yeah, the thing I'm hearing is the story takes like a big turn, like really deep into the game, which is like surprising because it's like 10 or so hours before like it really kind of hits the ground running, which is kind of strange, I feel like. Especially since it like changes so much of the actual gameplay. Like I've not gotten that far. I haven't had the time to put into it, but like I would have loved to see that because I agree. Extra Primal is like kind of a guilty pleasure in that like it seems really stupid on the surface, but like
it does.
when you get in there and actually play, like it's got fun mechanics, it's got good team synergy type stuff, and it's just
And it
like
makes
goofy fun.
sense. Yeah, and it's like when I first heard about it, right? It was Game Pass is like, oh, Extra Primal's coming to Game Pass, and I showed one of my friends, and I was like, yo, we got to play this game, and he's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know, it just looks cool, right? And then a trailer came out, and I saw the dinosaurs drop, and I was like, oh, that's what that was on the cover. And uninstalled. No, never mind. This is gonna be stupid. It's gonna be that stupid. And it's Capcom. Oh hell no.
That's the thing.
And then
Capcom has been on a roll. Like they've been undefeated for like the
recently,
past couple years. So like Exo Primal seemed like, all right, well maybe maybe they're due one flub, right? But
bruh,
I think it might actually secretly be really good.
I really like it. Like honestly, right now, Exo Primal is a good break for me from Overwatch.
Mhm.
And you know how much I love Overwatch, as much as I hate it too. At the same time, right? That's
That's
how
That's
it works.
definitely a hate
That's
love
how it
relationship
works.
with that
Yeah, you just
game.
get that fester, right? Anyway, so you got. But when I go to Exo Primal, I see a lot of the similar mechanics, but I have way more time to use them, and I still have its own. It has its own strategy, its own story, its own goofiness. Um, The emotes are funny. The skins are pretty cool. The all the little customization you can do to your stuff, to your own exosuits are just dope. Um, and yeah, actually, like part of the story was very dramatic too. I'm hearing guys in the party like going through because as you just do the quick play, it actually progresses the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so after you get to certain levels, you see cutscenes of what's happening now that you've done this loop so many times. And so you're hearing saying, "Oh my gosh, I just found out who the antagonist is, and I just found out like how we're gonna do this and that and get out of this loop." And it's fun because you're experiencing it as you're getting this arena team quick play experience, you know. So I think they kind of struck gold with this randomly. I feel like
Yeah, it seemed like a real throwaway idea almost, but like,
yeah,
but there's
it's
definitely seems that there's a
working.
lot of thought actually put into it. Like someone was like, "Oh, I have a really cool idea for like a team based like horde mode thing," and like, yeah, like it's pretty fun and it's polished. Like the suits are cool, like the animations and abilities and stuff are cool.
I hate weeb like characters. Let me tell you that, okay? And I love the samurai in this game. I couldn't deny how cool the actions were, how effective they were, and how I felt like I had a certain place in the tank lineup. Oh my gosh.
Now my thing is, like, because I've seen a lot of gameplay on this.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why Anthem couldn't succeed in somewhat similar fashion.
This is a whole different story.
No, no, no,
That's
no,
why.
no, no, no. I'm just saying, just yeah, Anthem was. I'm just saying, like games like that,
Hmm.
where you have something similar with the mechs, somewhat different setup, this and that. You know, like I'm always interested to see how come certain games are always more
No, I
successful than others, even though the setup is somewhat because
Oh, you
I
like
mean
mean,
the
yeah,
I
because
look is
played.
they're
similar?
both like team based, like class based things. I think Anthem, because
I
Anthem
got your
has like
answer.
repeatable gameplay, the same way Exoprimal does, but they spent like way more money, clearly, on that. Like it was from the beginning built to be like this big AAA venture that was supposed to have a live service tail and whatnot. So like that's just tons and tons of resources thrown at this kind of bite-sized repeatable thing, and I don't think they could sustain it at the size they wanted. Whereas Exoprimal, in comparison, is like relatively small. Like it's from a big budget studio like Capcom, but like clearly they didn't put the same amount of money behind this as like Resident Evil or Monster Hunter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it's a much more modest attempt at hitting that same kind of like repeatable class based grind heavy thing. And so like this seems to be working because like the investment isn't super big and like and they'll find their niche because like Anthem had a niche, but all those dudes did was complain that there wasn't enough content.
Right. So and see where I'm going, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, it's like so it's like okay. I mean, like I said, because I have playing a lot of games like that. Even turn-based games, um, like Armored Core, Front Mission. Well, Armored Core is more action-based per se versus Front Mission, which is turn-based.
Hmm.
But like games like that is always interesting when you have mechs and suits. Gundam, same thing. When you have something, all it's similar genres per se, not the turn-based stuff, but the way how Anthem and this was, it's
Hmm.
like, man, it's kind of like, well, if this is succeeding, if you tone down certain things to make it like that, is it going to succeed in the same breath, or is it just because it's with dinosaurs, it looks different, you know, it gives it a different kind of like its whole different little base, a whole
Okay,
different
here's
little
my answer
feel.
right here.
Hmm.
Right, check it. Replayability. Okay, it was even story wise, it was dumb to continue playing Anthem after the story was done.
Yeah, Anthem was very bad in terms of its storytelling. That is true.
Now, when the story's done in Exoprimal, or let's even say after you finish one round in Exoprimal, you want to play another one because you got to advance the story. Now, even when you finish the story, there's a reason to continue to play. I'm not going to spoil nothing, but there's a reason to continue to play. So, if you're attached to the characters, if you're attached to the action, either way, they're going to hook you one way or the other.
It's a good point. Some folks in the chat chiming in as well. Lampy mentioned that Exoprimal trickles out its content a lot slower, so you keep hitting new things as you play rather than it always being the same. And Nick the OG says, I think it's absolutely the theme. Mechs versus Dinos is just silly, over the top, and memorable.
And they make it they make it kind of work, like story wise. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, it sounds goofy, right? But there's a reason why it's dinosaurs. But
I mean, that's
anyway,
intriguing. That's intriguing.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, Exoprimal has been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying that. Overwatch, I'm back on it. You're right. We're not going to talk about that toxic relationship too much, but no, me and the squads have been having some good games. We've been having some nice pushes. I'm branching out to some characters I don't normally play, and I'm having a good time. I got some fun clips that I've been sharing in the open party Discord every now and then. So definitely check that out. And last, Diablo 4, we chatted a little bit about that earlier. Um, my highest class is a druid, but I'm running my necromancer right now. It's you know it's too on brand to not run a necromancer. You know what I'm saying?
It's just the bones obsession is like you
You
can't.
know what I'm saying? So, like, I couldn't stay. It was calling my name from the character selection while I was playing my druid. I'm like, I hear you, but I'm playing my druid right now. You know, and it's, no. Anyway, I got into it, and it was a lot of fun.
Necro is the
Um,
wave.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it. I'm trying to do. Oh, look, we dropped the. He said Necro Crew. I got a 70 bone spear Necro. He wrecks. I bet he does, Nick. I bet he does. I'm
Yes.
I'm trying to do. Okay, I know I said I don't like weeb shit, right?
That's always how it goes. Like I hate it
Yeah,
too, but here we are.
you jump right into the rabbit hole as soon as it's over there.
I've been on this webtoons kick, and I've read it before, but I'm rereading Solo Leveling. So I'm like, let me try and make
Oh,
a
that anime is coming out
necromancer.
soon too.
Yeah, I saw
Next
the trailer.
year.
I said, let me
Yeah.
try and do a necromancer that uses a knife, a strong knife, and has a bunch of minions. So that's kind of my goal. I'm not trying to min max anything. I'm trying to make this character work. And that's why I like to play a lot of RPGs, from D&D to what I hope to get soon, Baldur's Gate.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
that will be
But
added to the collection.
yeah,
Just to
no,
stay sealed.
I've never been a huge Baldur's Gate fan, but a couple of my like trusted my trusted like game outlets are saying like this might be the truth right here.
Yeah, have you
And
ever
I'm
tried the Divinity Original Sin games at all? The
yes,
previous ones from Larian? Because
yeah.
apparently this is just going to be another one of those, but with the Baldur's Gate theming on top.
I've tried some of those and I didn't have the greatest time. Um,
Okay.
but that was a long time ago. So maybe I have to double tap it. But there was oh my gosh, we're in the open party Discord. We were talking about some D&D comparisons and to some games, and I said, Solasta, the what's it called, the Lost Crown, I think it's called, or something like that. Um, I think that one's great. The Magistrate's Crown, I think it's called. I think that one's great. As far as a crossover, and then I think someone else said uh it was like Eternal something, and it was on Discord. And I looked at that. I
Hmm.
said that looked like an N64 game, but but I think where they were coming from, and I started to look more into it, was the text that was behind it and the customization behind the stats of the characters. And I was like, okay. I kind of see where you're going at, but at the end of the day, we're looking for that fluid RPG experience where we get the heavy stats, but the animation that proves it. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like we're getting a step into that direction. Yeah.
Nice.
hmm
Um,
Um.
yeah, anything you've been like watching or?
Yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen.
Aizen.
Now,
Oh,
let
there
me
he
tell you
goes.
something. I made a deal with the devil.
More
I
that weeb
started.
shit.
Right?
That's
I made a
another
deal
one
with the
there.
devil. I started reading manga again, and I'm getting caught up, and I'm caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen. So this is the thing, right?
Hmm.
Yes, there's like a 20% hype disadvantage when you know what's going to happen, right?
I can see that.
But But I believe that there's a 30% hype advantage not knowing how they're gonna show this. Because you saw it one way in your head, and your homeboy saw it one way in their head. And when you're talking about like, oh yeah, he kind of swept the feet and kind of no. But then Mappa is like, no. It was like this, and it had this sound to it, and had this comedic timing, and it had these colors, and it was this stretched angle. And bro, when I tell you, I am loving every second of Jujutsu Kaisen right now.
One thing I can say about some of the anime that are coming out now, they're trying to stay very, very close to the manga compared to what it used to be. Like they're not really changing much of anything.
They are paying attention.
Yeah, they are.
They are paying attention
because they know there's a lot of people that will go back and read the manga just to see if certain things are similar. Because you have people that don't read manga at all, but all they do is watch the anime.
That's me.
And they're like,
and that's fine.
That's what I am.
But the anime will inspire them to go read the manga, and then they'll be like, "Oh man, this is pretty close." Of course, now I will say there's certain anime that certain details do get left out depending on the anime you're watching, because obviously you only have so much time per se.
Yeah, it's an adaptation, so like you're gonna get some.
But a lot of the times in that manga, there's certain scenes or whatever that might not get seen. But still, they've been sticking pretty close to what the manga. So
I got two things to say about that real quick. One, I think that it's always a bonus, and this happens sometimes. It happened with Black Clover. Watching the anime, they add scenes sometimes, which is great, and that's not in the manga. And you get to see, oh, cool, that's another aspect that is somewhat canon at this point, right? And then I think the second thing is when you're reading the manga and you're trying to get like it's just imagination. It's another medium to put this story through. You know what I'm saying? I can't be underwhelmed by the sound, by the voice acting, by the music. So I think you don't lose too much when you read.
Because you're saying like your own imagination kind of fills in the blanks, and oftentimes that can be better than the actual interpretation.
I see what he's saying, because if you don't have some kind of creativity in your own mind to see that scene in your own mind, it's very kind of like, let's say, I'll give you using you as an example, Casey. Like you never read manga, right? So let's say if you actually read a manga, so like if you read something, sometimes you can feel the scene in your head, or you can hear the sound in your head just by reading, right? Yeah. Now, if you were to watch an anime and it's like, you remember them old school kung fu movies? Like sometimes if it's not right, you feel it's not right just because you're reading, man, this is how it should feel, and when you see it's like, nah, man, that is off. I mean?
I understand 100% what you're saying. I want to counter that though with the idea that that's a preconceived bias. Like when you read a thing and then you interpret it that way, just like Blue said earlier, your friend could interpret it entirely different way. So that doesn't mean that when it becomes an anime that it's wrong. It's just wrong to you because you have a preconceived notion of what it was supposed to be, which came from you and nowhere else. So like me, who did not read it at all, when I see that interpretation, it's more than likely just going to be right. So it depends on how they interpret it for me in that moment, which is part of the reason why I try to stay away from reading a lot of mangas, because I love animation, like anime, cartoon, otherwise, right? So like I really get a lot out of watching how art is drawn and stretched over time, and music and effects and stuff. So like I really, really, really love and appreciate that. So I don't want that spoiled, to like see like the stillness and then be like, all right, well, I know what's going to happen here, as opposed to just kind of seeing and experiencing it for the first time in fluid motion. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
But I do get what you're saying, because like, sure, like you, because like you can definitely be like, all right, these characters sound like this, and then you get like a really bad dub, and it's like, oh, I hate this guy's laugh or whatever. And I actually have an example just like that. To be honest. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you wrapped up, Blue?
No, yeah, am I? I don't know. I want to hear your example. I'm not gonna lie.
Is
Well,
it?
yeah. I,
Really?
I recently finished a relatively recent anime, the case study of Vanitas.
Yes, that's a
Oh,
good one
you like
too.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I watched pretty much all of that, and I ended up liking it. Like I thought it was a little cheesy at first. Um,
That's kind of why I stopped.
yeah,
To be
but because the main characters, their voices are very annoying, and one of them in particular, the main character Vanitas, he will laugh just like out of the blue. It's like just for what seemingly no reason, he'll like laugh, and it's such an awkward, like cringe-inducing sound the way he laughs. And so like it was really putting me off, and I was like, can I try this in like the Japanese or whatever, and maybe that'll be better. But like it actually wasn't better. Like that character still behaves that way, and like it comes through in the voice dialogue. So that was something I had to get used to. But I eventually did end up liking the show because it is a little cheesy, but like it has a lot of heart. It's
no,
very homoerotic. I'm sure that's intentional, but
yeah,
like but it's done in such a way where like those relationships matter, and like I'm not one who like is like really into like love triangles and stories in general,
hmm
but they make it part of the story in a way that's like fun and intriguing. So like I actually do care that these characters are sort of into each other, or one likes one and the other doesn't like one. Even though like I feel like that stuff makes the regular storytelling a little messy oftentimes, they do it very well in that show. So like I've really ended up liking it quite a bit, even though it can be like those voices are still pretty bad in my mind.
Nah, yeah, certain animes for me it's all subtitles and like I've never watched a dub in any
There are good
anime.
dubs. There are good
there are
dubs out
good.
there.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm so used to like reading and watching and at the same time like it doesn't bother me. But yeah.
I don't think it bothers everybody, but like who likes dubs, you know what I mean? But the fact is, just like Sigma said, there are some dubs that are just like these English voice actors voice acted they ass off. Like,
Like Haikyuu is a better show dubbed in English. Like those characters are mad funny. They're full of personality. When you hear like the slang and like the tone of voice that they use in English, like it sells that show. Like the Japanese is good, like it's fine, but like as an English speaker, like it actually helps to hear those guys speak English. Like that's a great dub show.
last
Mhm.
thing. I'm finally watching from beginning to end Yu Yu Hakusho. And man, when I tell you, Urameshi and Kuwabara talk so much smack. I never realized it.
They're a
Like
bunch of
growing
hoodlums.
up, son, look, they some punks. Like they're them kids that you have to yell at to get off your
Uh
lawn
huh.
because there would be some shit going down. Look, back in the day, I've seen like maybe an arc at a time or like one or two episodes here and there, and it's like I thought they was just spicy in that episode because of what was happening. And now I'm watching, I'm like, oh, every episode they just talking smack. Like you're eventually at the beginning of the arc, he walks into somebody's lawn and he looks around. He says, "It smells like ass," and I was just like, "Yo, what,
Yeah, he's a
Right.
legitimately funny as hell character.
bruh?" He was asleep at the dark tournament, and they woke him up. Or no, he was sleeping through like 4 or 5 fights,
Hmm.
explosions, everything like that. And he decided he wanted to fight. He gets up there. He's like, "Hey, I woke up because y'all was talking this lame smack. I'm gonna beat your ass and then go back to sleep." And it was crazy. I love
He's a
it.
goon,
I
man. I
love it
love it.
so much. Yeah. Hey, let me tell you something. They take their licks though. They pay for it. Them
Yeah.
boys, them boys should be dead.
Yeah, like that was one of the first anime series where like they really showed like fight intelligence versus just brawn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like 'cause
Yeah.
that was like early anime for me. Like I was coming off of stuff like Dragon Ball Z, for example, where
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
Yeah.
power level
Just
raises to
little
this, that
power.
means I can punch you harder or move faster,
Yeah.
and that's it. But like they were doing such cool tactical things, just outsmarting the opponent. It was like, okay, you shouldn't win because I'm much stronger than you, but I fooled you, and now you're dead. And like
Exactly.
I love that sort of like storytelling in like conflict in anime.
And I definitely underestimated, and I think you were supposed to, but I underestimated Kuwabara. Kuwabara
Yeah.
is
You're,
very, very useful. Like,
yeah.
probably, I want to say more than Urameshi, but Urameshi has that like plot armor because like Kuwabara started off spirit sensitive. You know what I'm saying? He
Mhm.
like already knew that there was some spirits around and stuff like that. When he got into the little situation, boom, spirit sword, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can sense people going around. Oh yeah, I know that there's danger around the corner. Oh yeah, I can do two swords. Oh yeah, I can make this sword like this dude is a genius.
Yeah, like he puts in like work and effort, and like you see it
Yes.
pay off over time when everyone is consistently writing him off. Like it's really well done. Like he's a great character.
And I just have to say, these boys are 14. That's wild.
That's anime
Is
fans.
it-
I was thinking about when I was 14 trying to find some Pokemon cards. And I'm just like, oh my God. They had different priorities. But that's it. That's it. That's what Blue's been up
Oh
to.
man. So yeah, I don't have too much.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I've been playing has been for work, but luckily it's been a pretty good streak. Like I just finished a review for Remnant 2, the new
Okay.
Gunfire Games joint. It's another Remnant game. Like if you played the first one, this just adds to it.
Okay.
The only thing that suffers from them just doing more Remnant, because Remnant was a great game and experience to begin with. The only thing that suffers is that they kind of finished that story in the last game, and so like you kind of get the vestiges of that main plot in this one, and it doesn't make sense. Like your
Mm.
character doesn't make sense. All the people who you recognize from the original plays Ward 13, like their purpose there is not really to be interesting people. They're there as like vendors for the most part. So you end up not really caring about them or whatever's going on in that situation. But the flip side of that is, if you know what that game is, you basically interdimensionally travel to all sorts of worlds to try and stop this cosmic threat or whatever. But those different worlds have their own situations, their own politics, their own lore and history, and you either talk to characters or like read books and whatnot, and you learn so much about those places. And those places and their stories are mad interesting. Like you learn about characters that have nothing to do with you, who are having way more interesting like plot lines and situations that you just hear about and don't really take place. Like maybe in a little bit at the end of their story, you're like, oh, this outsider has shown up. Help us with this situation that you probably have learned about, since everything on our in our lives are centered around this particular thing. So like that does save it in the story front, but like it's very disconnected because it's like whatever's happening over there has nothing to do with you, and whatever's happening over in the next place that you're going to end up in, and your connecting thread is really just kind of a MacGuffin hunt. Um,
I was
but
gonna say,
yeah,
like,
go
does
ahead.
it feel like whenever you hit a new world, you're just like, okay, what's the tea? Because
Like, who do I
I
talk to
know y'all
get the
got some
juice?
wild stuff going on here.
But yeah, it's very much like the NPCs are like very very well voice acted. Like they make great characters in those spaces, but just all the humans and like the Earth stuff is just very boring and very bland.
Mm.
So I mean, but it's easy
so
enough to
there's a
ignore.
so there's a whole bunch of side quests coming in the next one probably, or if they're gonna expand on it, then if that's the case.
What do you mean, like in DLC or something?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like Remnant is built to be this very replayable experience. Like the actual quest is all generated. So like it's not handcrafted by the devs. Like you roll an adventure, like a campaign, and like the order in which you go to these different places, the people you meet, the bosses you fight, the areas you see can be different between you and your friend because it just generates a campaign for you. And once you beat like an area's boss, you can go to what they call adventure mode and like rerun, like you can re-roll like just that area to like search for stuff that you missed or like situations that you didn't come across, and
Oh,
like
okay.
fight different bosses, get new weapon drops and mod pieces or whatever. So like there's a lot in there already. Like you wouldn't need to wait for like DLC to like get more of it because like it's just built to give you constantly new stuff to do, which is really really cool. Like it actually works. Like one of the few instances of like generating or randomly generated things that actually functions in like a really cohesive way. Because if you weren't told that it does that, you might not believe that that's what it was doing until you had to go back and be like, wait, this is all different.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really cool. The
Yeah.
weapons are fun. Like it's like Destiny levels of like freaky um like abilities and stuff. Like I had a gun that had 5 rounds in the chamber, but
Okay.
depending on how far you were from the enemy, once that bullet hits, it immediately comes back to the gun. So you could have like a 5 round burst if you're really far away. It's like do 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 do, and then it comes back, do 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 do, and it comes back. But if you're right up in that dude's face, it's just a full on automatic machine gun because the bullet's time to come back to
Coming
you is
back
so
faster.
short. So it's like your damage over time just skyrockets based on distance, and like it's just really cool because like that's not a thing I've ever come across in a weapon before, and like they have a lots of just really inventive abilities and stuff like that.
It's like some Borderlands 3 stuff.
Yeah, like it's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's what I was saying. That's what I was thinking. I was like, that sounds like Borderlands type of feel.
Yeah.
Also, I wanna shout out real quick before I move on.
Hmm.
They really stepped up the boss encounters because
Okay.
if and again I'm thinking of like Destiny because like it actually borrows a lot from Destiny in that regard. If you've done any like raid encounters in Destiny where it's like okay, there's a fight going on, but there's some other like puzzle mechanic involved in being able to deal damage to the boss. Most of their boss fights have some sort of small mini component like that that makes it so much more fun and engaging. And one in particular is probably one of the best boss fights I've had ever. Like you're in a maze
It's
and you're fighting like big ass cubes that are essentially like flipping over and like locking down and changing pieces of the maze. So like you
Okay.
have to run through the maze while avoiding these gigantic blocks, but also you have to shoot these kind of like light orbs on the blocks because the blocks are the enemy. Like that's the boss. So you need to shoot every side that has an exposed thing when it gets exposed to you while running through a maze while avoiding getting like stomped on top of. And like it's mad
Sounds like
hectic.
Super Mario.
It's so like when you're it's like and they do such a good job of like presenting that situation to you because like when you first walk into the room and see that this cube kind of drops into place, it starts coming towards you. Immediately you're like, "Oh shit, I'm in a maze and these things will crush me if I don't move." And you immediately know what you need to do from inside of the maze. So like that sort of design just works perfectly. And like it just feels really good to play. It's a blast. Like I played on the Escapist account. I I don't have the time to buy it and play through it on my own, but I definitely want to play through it again. I'm hoping it comes to Game Pass like the last one did because I want to play
Yeah.
through it some more. Like I want to do all the co-op stuff because like all the abilities and classes synergizing with each other is a whole other extra layer on top of what they have. So like Remnant 2 is a blast. Like play it. Like
Cool.
if you're into that sort of thing, you'll be into this.
That's what's up.
Outside of that, I'm still fiending for Street Fighter 6. like I like I really love playing that game. Like it's so much fun. The feeling of like learning the mechanics and getting better is still fresh. Like I haven't plateaued just yet. I haven't played enough to plateau yet. But
Okay.
since I can't like play it as much as I want, I've also been watching like a ton of Street Fighter 6 videos. Like PlayStation just had like a North American tournament that I watched them stream yesterday, and like the high level play in that game, it's so fun to watch. Like fighting games are probably the most watchable video game like genre period, but Street Fighter
Easily.
6 in particular is like it's so vibrant, it's so colorful, and like once you understand the base level of like the back and forth tactics between the two people, it's just nail bitingly exciting every single match. Like even when you're watching somebody get rolled, like okay, this dude just perfect the other guy,
Seeing how
seeing how they did
yeah,
it is still like super intriguing. Like, oh wow, that guy is really freaking good. Because like these people aren't scrubs, but to get a
yeah,
perfect on somebody else like that is like no, their reads were
'cause
on point, their counters were on point.
exactly the reads and the counters. Those are the scariest things when you see a perfect come through because in every fighting game, no matter how good somebody is, there's not going to be a 0 to 1. If it's a good fighting game, there's not going to be a 0 to 100
Hmm.
combo, right? And very rarely there's going to be a 0 to 50% combo. So that means you have at least one opportunity to defend yourself
Yeah,
and push back. if your opponent reads all of your attempts and makes them fatal futile,
Yeah, that punishes you constantly for that.
yes, that
Man,
oh my gosh.
it's
And
beautiful to
so
watch.
that look, let me tell you something.
I'd be mad as what. That's why I
No,
don't
yeah,
play fighting
if
games.
you're on the receiving end of that, yes.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I used to watch that like
The amount of hours you put in just to get to that level, and you just get just
Yeah, you know that
A-town
hurts.
stomped.
and it's just
You know what I'm saying?
math. You know what I mean?
You be so mad, bro. You
Because
be
once
like,
you understand it, it just comes down to math.
Mm.
It really just comes down to
yeah,
math.
the
Like,
reach and
he
this
was,
and that. You
he
know,
was
just
OP
the
for
the
these amount of
small.
frames, and Buddy took advantage of it, and he started winding it up before because he knew that this move was gonna come in low. You was doing the overhead, and he was gonna hit you on your. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it's brilliant to
it
watch.
hurt.
I love it so much. I was a little disappointed that I did not see any modern control style users in any of the matches, because like I'm rooting for modern to like kind of disrupt the system.
I understand that.
But so
It took me a
far,
while to get to
yeah, it's
that
gonna take
point.
a while. It's gonna take some time. But so far, it's like the classic boys. Like they've been here for a while. They've been doing this consistently. It's like they're still at the top of their game in these tournaments and rankings and stuff. But I'm waiting for it. I'll be there. I'll be the number one fan when the first modern Ken breaks through the ranks or whatever and starts like wrecking shop. Because Ken is a problem. Like, oh my god, Ken is a problem in that game.
Okay, I'm excited.
I just
But
don't
yeah,
want to break no controllers. That's why I don't play no more fighting games anymore. Like, forget that ads and them whole, bro. Yeah, like I said, I have great respect for people that are they play one game and they perfect that game, and then after that, that's it. You know, anything outside that border, it's pretty much mediocre. But other than that, once they get into their own particular zone for that
they just
game,
find their niche. Yeah.
and
And finally, I already mentioned case study of Violence House, but I also started Trigun Stampede, which is the remake of classic
Yeah.
Trigun. Folks were a little iffy because of the shift in complete art style overhaul, and then also that art style being like CG generated.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, like
of it.
Fast X is not a fan of it, but
I'm an old Trigun head.
But
yeah.
have you watched it yet? Because I think you might like it. I think you might genuinely like it. Like it's really like this is the best CG animation I've seen an anime take ever. Because like a lot of them will kind of just stop at like very bulky looking styles, but half the time Trigun Stampede looks 2D even though it's a CG animated thing. Like that's how vibrant its like color palette and stuff is.
You know,
And,
it's funny.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
So Fast Act said he didn't watch it because he liked the old school one,
Uh-huh.
right? I didn't watch it because I didn't like the old school one. So I think we both might need to just, take a
Sit
chance
out.
and give it a watch.
Yeah, I mean, they do like it's not a full on retelling either. So like
Okay.
it like
Yeah, I heard it's a different,
yeah,
a
it's
whole
like
different thing.
like it starts off kind of telling you information that's kind of a big twist in the original show, and like at first I was like, oh, that's weird that they're starting here because like, I remember that being like a big twist, but I got to see where it goes. Like maybe there's a reason they were like, all right, well maybe it's not worth it. But and also it's like it's a classic show. Like many people already know this twist. Like maybe it doesn't matter to hide it for this point, right? So I'm like, all right, I like that thinking. Like, okay, where are they gonna then find the drama and situations and whatnot?
Invincible did a similar,
Right.
similar.
Yeah. So I am very much liking it so far. It has the same spirit of the show in that like you're kind of this idea of like the first show is kind of about like mistaken identity in a sense, or like rather like what's the truth of a person like until you like get to know them, like because you follow a reporter who's like learning about this guy who has this mythos about him, and she's trying to get down to the truth or whatever, and she's slowly like watching kind of what he does and like learning who he is. Like that is very much still there, but the situations are 100% like different. Like the names are the same, like the characters all look different, but like they look nice to me. Like they look different, which can be jarring for some folks, but like they have good designs. Like they look cool, they look nice, the action is dope, like it's very fluidly animated. So like so far I've only I mean like 2 or 3 episodes in so far, but like I am very much into it.
What's that
Also,
on Hulu?
great English dub. That's I'm watching on Crunchyroll.
It's on Crunchyroll.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. We can.
I'm
move
surprised you ain't say Bleach there.
Who me?
Bleach.
Oh yeah, he's
Nah,
not
I'm
coming
surprised.
back.
I'm surprised Blue ain't say nothing about Bleach, the 1,000-Year
I don't
Blood.
need to say nothing about Bleach. I got nothing to say about Bleach. Not a thing. Or some bleach on Bleach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Bleach wasn't great. The first season of 1,000-Year Blood War was not great, and I've read that manga. Like it's very rare, but I read that manga because of how much I wanted to finish the story of the original anime, and so like nothing that they showed added to the story I already knew. So I was very much disappointed by what I've seen so far. But I think the next season is stuff that I haven't read, so maybe I'll have a different reaction because I didn't like finish it all. But yeah,
I'm not down with Bleach, man.
yeah. If you didn't like Bleach before, 1,000-Year Blood War is not going to change that. Like it's still same old Bleach.
Anime Superman.
But from a couple of dudes who hate that weeb shit, there's your weeb shit. But we'll be moving on to our first topic here. Final Fantasy 14 hitting the Xbox. Both of you guys are actually very big MMO players. Blue in particular, a very big Final Fantasy 14 player. I know you play the game on PC all the time. Does this change? Well, not this change. This port to Xbox. One, do we know? Like that's how the game just works, right? Will you be able to use your same character there, or is that?
Ooh. So
Is that like
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not
Between
sure.
PC and PlayStation, is there cross save?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me be more specific.
Mhm.
Yes, I can log into my same account on console once they release it on there and get my old characters.
Nice.
Yes. One of the biggest things that's that they announced, and I don't know if you were about to get to this, but it was the free trial for the Xbox users.
No, I did not.
Year. Okay, so there's a free trial coming for the Xbox users next year. I think it's spring of 2024. Where and I know Chibs is in the chat. She's been evangelizing about this. Yeah, you're getting like the first 3 stories. So you're getting like Realm Reborn, Stormblood, Heaven Sword, and I think one other up to level 70. Unlimited playtime. That's the free trial that they're giving the Xbox players, and a lot of folks who previously played. Are trying to say, hey, can I get back in on that? And they're not paying for it now. So there's a lot of like up in the air about that issue. But look at Chibs with the
Chibs. Just put the
Chibs,
whole
I'm not even
marketing copy in the chat there.
But see, I played it before it was Realm Reborn, and I remember playing my Red Mage, Black Mage combo. But this is when PlayStation.
You talking about 11? Because Realm Reborn was the very first story.
No, this was before they had to transfer everything back. Or they wiped the game clean because I don't know.
14,
I think I showed it.
14 had a
if y'all don't know, there's a nice little history behind how it is now. Because I still have the very original first game on PC. I think I've showed it once or twice on the show. I still have the original when it first came out on PC. And now it's Realm Reborn and all that, but before,
okay,
man, it was the grindiest game when it came out.
I mean, that's why they had to rebirth it.
And when you're able to play it on PlayStation 2, when you had the net and everything, because you were able to play it on PlayStation 2 with people on PC. This is when the trials started happening, the spiral trials somewhere.
Can you not
and
do
after
that
a while,
anymore? Like, is there not cross?
No. This is when everything got. This is when they stopped the network version for PS2 when you couldn't play it anymore, and then it went strictly to PC, if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, I used to play it on PC.
Tyrael, are you talking about the PS2 or the PS3? Because I think
because
PS2 would have been 11.
11, yeah.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. They scrapped it, and then it became like Roma Reborn and all that.
But that's 14. Like Final Fantasy 11 was PS2 era, their first MMORPG. Final Fantasy 14 was PS3 era, when it first launched,
Okay, so
and that's the one that
yeah, so
became A Realm Reborn.
yeah, so it was just
Yeah.
like, man, I remember playing both of them,
Hmm.
but then when it went to strictly PC, it was kind of rough. So it was like, man, it's now coming to Xbox. That is kind of nice, but it's like, man, they should have just kept it the way it was because console and PC could have played together.
They
And then
still
after,
do right now.
can they still play on a PlayStation?
100%. 100%.
So there is crossplay between
Everybody plays
PC
them.
and
Everything.
PlayStation for
PlayStation?
Final
Okay.
Fantasy 14.
And
Okay,
your
and
Switch. And your phone.
on
No, I'm
Switch.
just playing. I'm
Is
just kidding.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just
because
kidding.
So I'm assuming that same functionality will exist for Xbox. You get your
100%.
same character.
Yeah.
You'll be able to play with
Okay, that's
PlayStation
good.
folks and
Yeah.
PC folks. But
Yeah.
this, like we just mentioned, this game originally launched on the PS3. Why has it
Yeah.
taken this long to come to Xbox? We may never know.
Well,
now
we
that it's
know
here,
that
like
Square Enix and PlayStation was besties for a long, long time, and they were both like, "Boo, Xbox." And then Square Enix is like, "Hold on, guys. The PlayStation, step back, hold on. Xbox, actually, I like money, so let me give you some of these games." And that's how it started.
I find it hard to believe that Square Enix had the change of heart here because like they've been doing this sort of shisty weirdness. And to be honest, it's never been clear if PlayStation has been paying for this sort of stuff. Like I know it's like heavily implied, but like I don't
For
think
an
I've ever
exclusivity?
seen like I don't think I've ever seen like specific like hard evidence that PlayStation has secured exclusive stuff for a lot of the Final Fantasy stuff that they've done, for a lot of these other like RPGs that they do and just exclusively release on either PC and PlayStation and just ignore Xbox. I think it's a decision that they make as a Japanese company that says, well, Xbox doesn't have a big footprint in our home market. We're not gonna make stuff for them.
You know, it's funny. Somebody, I saw somebody angry on a post about this just the other day, and they were like, "I don't understand why they would do this. This is stupid. Why would they put the game on Xbox?" And I'm just like, "Well,
money.
I I was like, I got friends who only got an Xbox who want to play the game. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I cannot
What's the
fathom
problem?"
how that could be perceived as a bad thing, especially when it has
And
cross save and cross play. Like it's not like a siloed off thing.
bruh.
It's more
And then
people. Uh huh.
he mentioned the low footprint in Japan, and he's like, Xbox barely has any, like their sales are dropping in Japan and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but more people want to play. Period. What's the problem with making it available to folks who want to play?
And this sort of
No,
thing
I'll
would
get
help
that.
that issue, right? Like that's
Yeah,
probably one of
Some
the
people are
biggest
just
reasons
mad.
for it. Like one, it's a
Some
foreign
people are
console,
mad.
but two, like the stuff that maybe that market wants to play, like RPGs and stuff, don't find their way there because of that low footprint. It's like this catch-22 that they can't dig themselves out of. They got to go make these deals.
But it's like, why not make it more available? That's my question. Why are people upset that it's being more available?
Yeah, those
I
people do
mean,
not make sense.
I mean,
How I
Lampy
recall.
said it best in the chat because PlayStation is known way more and sold way more outside the US, I believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like things coming to X, I mean, it only is gonna help Square Enix to come on Xbox. I'm like, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you take it? And I think this was the conversation. I think Casey, when you had a couple shows ago or a while back about games expanding to every console, or like
Mhm.
everybody can somewhat get in and play on, doesn't matter what console you buy, you can play the game on almost any console depending on the game it is. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Because some people want to play it on this console, some people want to play it on that console, but make it where it's cross play if you're gonna have an MMO like that. I mean, the
Now,
MMO wins
there's
in
two things
general.
I got to say about that.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, man.
My bad. So this is gonna be me being the devil's advocate, right? Now, I do understand if, hey, I want a game that pushes my PS5 to the max. Okay, I want a game that pushes my PS5 to max, even if it's an MMO. I want my game to push a PS5 to the max. I don't want it to be on Xbox standards. I don't want it to be on Switch standards. I don't want it to be on mobile phone standards. I don't want it to be on these other platform standards, right? There's some people who want that, and I get that. But my counterpoint to that, especially when it comes to and MMORPG is MMO. Give me more people. The more,
It's the
the better.
lifeblood of that
That's what
genre.
it's
Yeah.
about. It's about the
Yeah.
people at the end of the day. That's my stance on that.
Like the whole exclusivity thing. That's a whole other bag that we won't dive into. It doesn't benefit consumers in any way. All it does is benefit platform holders to draw more people to those platforms. That's it. So like the only time I advocate for exclusivity is because in the landscape we have, it's a thing, and I want all the players to be competitive. So like that's how they compete. That's why I'll be like, oh, I like these exclusives over here because it's going up against those exclusives over there. In an ideal utopian world, put all your shit on all the stuff. Like
Everything. Free
Right.
love.
Yeah.
especially with two consoles with the same with parity like Xbox and PlayStation, like they have the same box in a lot of like you're not gonna build a thing that can't run on one versus the other unless you specifically put in the code don't run on one, only run on the other. You know what I mean? Like you can make it work. People just choose one or the other. So like yeah, I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to those sorts of arguments. But what I will say about this deal is that the other half of it is that Microsoft essentially is hinting at more deals with Square Enix. So essentially, beyond Final Fantasy XIV, more stuff from Square Enix could be coming to Xbox. For example, Final Fantasy 16 is not on Xbox. Their newest, biggest profile game just released, and they're complaining about lackluster sales in comparison to the last one. Funny story, the last one was on all the consoles.
It's Stranger in Paradise or something like that.
No, not Stranger in Paradise. No,
No.
Final Fantasy
Or-
15.
Man, I haven't kept up with
I don't know
with
what Stranger in Paradise might have been on Xbox. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't, to be honest. But like that's definitely not their last big release. That game was very mediocre, if I remember correctly. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just okay. I don't remember, to be honest. But
I
Final
think it
Fantasy
was
15, their last major release, that came out day and date on Xbox and PlayStation. And it's beating a game that came out on just the PlayStation this go around, Final Fantasy 16, in sales. Why is anyone surprised? Anyone at Square Enix surprised, I should say.
Yeah.
but that's where the rubber meets the road after a while, because people are starting to. That's another thing to now with the economy the way it is, and people are now starting to wake up. Like, why isn't a lot of these games being made for at least every console that it can? For the exception, of course, Nintendo is a whole different story with the Switch and everything, but just Xbox and PlayStation, obviously, and
Nintendo's
PC. You know, there's a lot of games that can be made for, you know, all three situations, especially when it comes to MMO. Why wouldn't you want to have more people playing it so the game has a longer stay? You have more money going into the game. Like that doesn't make sense. But now they're starting to be like, oh well, yeah, we need to get this money because I mean it's starting to, the alienation after a while just money wise doesn't make sense. It just really doesn't.
All right, real quick.
I mean,
let me comment on Lampy and King's Dead, who bring up some good points. They say they have the same hardware architecture, talking about PlayStation and Xbox, but completely different SDKs. Saying they're the same is kind of a bad argument that doesn't acknowledge the differences in the software stack. And King's Dead 42 bringing up the fact that Larian was complaining that supporting the Xbox S was causing them a bunch of trouble, which is why they're releasing on all the others first. So, yes, me saying that they're basically the same thing, yes, that's me being pedantic. They are different consoles. You make stuff for them differently. It's not copy paste. Yes, I understand that. But it's the truth that they have similar hardware architecture, meaning that you can put the same kind of game on both of them. You will have to develop them separately, but it is a choice that you make. It's not a thing that you can't do because one is so different than the other. That's the point I'm trying to make. So like it's a choice to say, all right, we're going to hit this install base's market or that install base's market or the widest market possible. Square Enix is the kind of company who is like, they're a big name. They're a AAA publisher. They need to hit the widest market possible. Yet they consistently choose to just do PlayStation because for some reason they don't think Xbox is worth it. until now. Phil Spencer has made the deal. But the thing is, I feel like we've had this conversation before. Like, do we fully expect Square Enix to now give parity to Microsoft? Like how confident are you guys in a change now? Like, will the stuff that they've released in the last couple of years start to come? Will the new stuff they've released start to come day and date? Or like,
I hate to say it, money is, that's what it boils down to. It's money. They want to try to make more games and this is not reach a broader audience. It's money. I mean, why wouldn't I try to get the more bang for my buck if I have a larger audience?
I mean, honestly, it's the thing I don't understand because
because
Lampy is making the point like, yeah, you require a second team to do this. Okay, bigger investment, bigger payout. That's what these companies do. It's a choice. They're choosing not to invest in the other market.
So and like I said, that just deals with the upper echelon though. If they don't want to, if they say, well, we're not gonna make it for you because, like I said, now when it comes to Nintendo, that's a totally different story because the architecture is completely different. You cannot put certain games on the Switch.
Yeah, it's just a much weaker hardware.
So, but why wouldn't you, if you can make another 20, 30, 40 million, I'm just putting out, if you can make another 10, 20, 30, 40 million on another, on top of what you're making with another demographic group, or even when it comes to Xbox, why not? Like, what's the problem? Everybody gonna eat anyway.
Let me bring up another interesting point here. Why aren't more games on Mac? They have the same hardware as PC. Let's be honest. When you're saying PC, you mean Windows. Like I'm not a super deep tech dude, but I do think that is more of an Apple issue than it is a hardware issue or a publisher issue. You could put more stuff on Mac if those systems weren't so closed. I feel like Apple is the problem there. Their software does not let a lot of things play nice with it unless Apple themselves make it. So I think that's why that has historically been problematic. That's their own doing, in my opinion.
Apple has like their whole ecosystem. Like they keep things in their own ecosystem as much as possible. They don't. There's another one that don't like to play nice. Like, it's kind of like the whole what is it like, and like Samsung and
yeah.
Sometimes
Lampy says it's not an Apple issue. Metal is an open system. I've never even heard of Metal. So like,
I'm not a tech guy, so this is the first. Yeah, it's like
Mac OS is not closed like iOS is. Well, not the same, but like it's definitely the thing is it's under Apple's control. Metal is Apple's DirectX. All right, I'm gonna defer to you, Lampy, because I don't know the details. But the situation still stands. Essentially, it's a choice being made. If the devs are having difficulty developing for that system, then yeah, they're not going to deal with it. But Microsoft has never been the problem in this regard. Microsoft has been begging for this sort of attention, going so far as Phil Spencer traveling to Japan and having these meetings to get them to like work with them. So like if it is problematic, maybe that's what Phil Spencer is over there trying to solve. Like, hey, if you guys are having trouble developing for the Xbox, maybe we can give you some resources to help that go more smoothly. And they're like, all right, fine.
Yeah,
so, I mean, with that sort of knowledge, like we don't know the details of this particular deal, but with that sort of knowledge, that speculative knowledge, do we think that this is an issue that will go away? Because if Lampy, if these are all the issues that are stopping them from doing it, why should it change now that Phil Spencer has gone over there to make nice with them? Like, will we get parity or not? That's the question I'm asking.
I also seen something where Microsoft tried to buy Square Enix back in the day, 2019, something like that.
during the court case, a lot of documents came out, and like they were on a list with a bunch of other publishers that they were looking at possibly buying.
Could you imagine if that would have happened?
I can't, to be honest. I don't think. Like I know they probably put him on a list, but I don't think that would happen. I do not think that Square Enix would have let that happen.
I mean, the amount of money that.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the amount of money already with the Activision deal. Just thinking about back then, if they try to snatch Square Enix, and then if they let that go by, and then now they're snatching Activision, are you nuts? So, now you're talking about like but yeah, I mean that never fell through, but still, just now they have Activision So you know you're gonna have they're watching Microsoft making all Sony's watching Microsoft making all these moves. It's like, all right, we gotta start doing something because like if everything is gonna be on Xbox and I mean, I guess it really wouldn't matter if you buy the studios as long as still the consumer wins per se. But you know, companies are greedy.
I mean, that is the understatement of the year. But
I mean,
yeah. Anything left to add on Final Fantasy 14 before we go into our final topic? And we'll try to keep it quick because we're close to going over time. No, all right.
Yeah, no. Look, I'm just happy to see it all spread. You know what I'm saying? Just spread the love.
I might dip my toe. I might dip my toe in there if it's it comes to fruition and everything is good and nice and stable on the Xbox, on the new Xbox. Yeah, why not? See.
Yeah, I will not. This is not it's not a genre that I have any interest in. but the dealings are interesting. Okay, so SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, has voted to strike. This is following about 3 weeks to a month of strikes previously from the Writers Guild of America. Both groups have failed to reach deals with the AMT PT, the American Motion Picture, whatever, like all the big Hollywood studios.
AMPTP.
Yes. So essentially, we're hearing things like the movie studios essentially want to own the likeness of like background actors for eternity without paying them. They're giving like garbage residuals for all like streamed syndicated content, and like the actors and writers have all had enough. They're like, give us like fair deals, and the producers have been quoted in an article essentially saying like, oh well, we'll wait until they lose their houses and starve them out, and they'll come back to the table, as opposed to offering like a fair deal. And so like there's no like one side or the other to this. I'm pretty sure all like fair-minded people are like, please pay these performers and writers what they're due. But this is a long-standing issue, and it's also spreading to other avenues. I mean, this is very similar avenues. Like Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network are now looking to unionize because cartoonists and animators are also in that same grind of creating content and not really being appreciated for it. But they don't have a union like SAG and WGA. So like it's good that that's kind of starting to happen, but like how long, I guess, do you guys think these Hollywood studios are willing to actually hold out? Because a ton of shows and movies have come to a screeching halt, even stuff that have been given the pass by SAG-AFTRA, saying like, all right, you guys aren't a part of the bigger studios, you can go ahead and do your stuff. Very recently, Viola Davis was like, oh, I'm not doing this movie that I got the pass to do out of solidarity with the actors. So
conscious choice, man.
So how do you guys feel about this, first off? And secondly, do you think they'll reach a deal? like how long can this go on?
That's what I'm worried about. Well, that's what I'm worried about.
When I look at it, right, I look at what just happened to UPS.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what happened to UPS?
No, please let us know what happened to PCS, because I have not been following this story.
Well, UPS was gonna go on strike.
They did go on strike.
No, it was 31st. They had till the 31st. The companies had till the 31st before they went on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But the company decided to pay what the union decided because
they agreed to the deal. Okay.
Obviously, fact check me though, but I believe UPS moves millions of packages a day. Millions.
I believe that. Yeah.
So could you imagine that being at a screeching halt?
I mean, yeah, that's the general idea of like unionizing, like basically like weaponizing your labor, right? Like, look, you guys need us as much as we need you. If we as a group say we're not going to, give you our labor, and we won't allow anyone else to, like, we won't let people come in and replace us, which is the whole scab thing, which is very important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you bring that company's profits to a screeching halt, which is their most important thing, and they have to listen to what you have to say.
Right. So in this sense, in my opinion, I think that's what's going to happen. The companies are going to end up paying these writers and whatnot. But the caveat is, what you really, really need is the bigger actors to do the same thing. Everybody needs to kind of, I hate to say it, kind of like toe the whole line if that's the case. If you
Mhm.
want to have a bigger impact in in that area. Um, I mean, I'm a firm believer, you're worth what you paid and whatnot. You know what I mean? So if you're not getting, and we've already know this is something that's always an ongoing battle between companies and unions per se. They're fighting for equal pay. This is not for what they're worth and whatnot, better conditions and everything else. Um, you know, but if they're not getting paid now, obviously with and we all knew technology was going to change a lot of things.
Yeah, that's a
The
big issue as well.
moment,
Yeah, the AI thing
so
being a
yeah,
looming threat. And I think that's actually the main point that the studios are maybe hinging on to think that they have leverage in this deal. They're like, all right, well, maybe we don't need writers if AI comes along. Maybe we don't need actors if computer generated technology comes along. Like they think that they can replace them with them or keep their costs down at the very least by like subbing in a lot of that in replacement. Like so that's something that I know is part of the deal. They're like, hey, we want assurances that that you're not going to be implementing this sort of thing in the medium.
yeah. See,
So,
and that's a scary part because they can do it. Like I remember they were talking about something about yeah with that, but if they're gonna do contracts, they need to put something in there where AI is not copying them or something like that because that could
yeah,
be
I'm
disastrous.
100% I'm
That could
sure that
be
that is in there.
that could be disastrous
Yeah.
for a lot of them per se. But I think the companies are. All right, let's just be honest. If the companies pay out these people, now mind you, some of these companies make billions of dollars a year. Like
All
that's
of
just a
them.
drop in the bucket,
All,
barely.
all of the
All
companies
of them,
in that
yeah,
group make billions of dollars a year.
billions of dollars. So them giving up like a certain percentage
It's not going to
is
hurt them.
not it's not gonna hurt them, bar none. Is really. I think I seen something where they were talking about the percentage of what they were asking for, and if they compared the budget of what they were making versus what they're asking for, and it wasn't even that much. I'd seen that snippet somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where they were showing that, and I'm like, that's just how greed just is with some people that try to have very much control over. That's like, bruh, you're making so much, but you just don't want to give up that small percentage so these people can have just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's greed. That's
You know
how
what
they
I'm
get that
saying?
much in the first place is that level of
You
greed.
know, but and also look at it on this end, right? If the companies wanted to, we just seen prices go up for certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, us consumers, if they wanted to raise the price, guess who gonna pay for that anyway?
Well, I mean, but well, if they don't have a product, then what are we paying for? That's
Right.
like that's the
But
that's the
I'm
bargaining power.
right. But I'm just saying, even in the end, if the companies they come to a bargain and the company wants to raise a little bit here and there, we're still gonna be paying for it, regardless.
You're right.
So I
Blue,
mean,
you were trying to you wanted to add something?
Yeah. One, I did want to say there are actually quite a bit of like some big Hollywood actors that are on strike. I know on my Facebook timeline I saw Jack Black, I saw Jason Sudeikis, and I pulled up a list. There's a lot of people who are like Rosario Dawson, Susan Sarandon, Adam Scott. There's a lot of folks that are actually like coming out and showing solidarity, and that's one of the highlights for me. Um, in this whole experience is seeing from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it seems genuine. These big actors who are okay with the money that they get, and you know what I'm saying. Actually fighting for the folks that also deserve compensation. So
Yeah, that's a good
uh,
point. Because like yeah,
and didn't
there
you
are the
have a
A-listers you think about all the time who are making millions, or you might think like, oh, you need even more money, but like no, acting is a profession that a lot of everyday folks have as their main job, and they don't make millions of dollars, and they're not well known, but like they act for a living, and like those folks need residuals off of like the shows that they feature in to like pay
yeah,
their bills.
like I was in a show on Apple TV with Samuel Jackson, and I got tiny ass paycheck, right?
I mean, yeah, that's how
And
it be.
yeah, and it's like if that show goes crazy big, I'm not gonna know nothing about it. You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with me. So it's just like, and it's not to say that, oh, I deserve millions for what I did, but it's like there needs to be some,
Like it needs to be fair because
it needs to be fair.
because some of those shows will do millions and billions of dollars because people will be streaming them and watching them and
Over
buying
time,
them over
yeah.
and over and over.
As much as I watch Arrested Development,
You know what I'm saying? So like if you had a part in that, if you gave your labor to something like that, and like all of this money comes off the back end, and like 99% goes to some big producer, and then
Like
you
three
get
dudes.
like a check for like 5 cents, like you're like, that's not fair, and it's not.
If you get that check.
Like to mail it to you will cost more than they pay you, and like
Yes, the
Right.
postage was way more expensive.
and like
But
that's
see, you've
happened to a
also-
lot of people.
But also too, you've had, and this is the interesting part. This is something that's been foretelling because you've had certain actors that actually paid people. I think Keanu Reeves was one of the biggest one, if I'm not mistaken, in The Matrix that took a lower pay so that
To, like,
everybody
pay, like,
else,
all his stunt people. Yeah, I think I heard that
pay
as
out,
well. Yeah.
like, I mean,
He's
there's
actually
other
really
actors
good
that
too.
have done it as well, but he's just the one that comes to mind that I've seen that did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, and if he's doing that just to see the now Matrix made quite a bit of money. So, if these people weren't getting compensated at that point, what he was doing, that was just telling, right? I mean, that and other instances, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But
like
it was
the studios will always try and cheat you. Like the union exists to
Exploitation.
try and keep them in check because they will
Right.
always, like, when things shifted to streaming, they immediately jumped on an opportunity to be like, this does not exist in any form of contract. We're gonna take advantage for as long as we can. And now, like, the day of reckoning has come where the actors and the writers and the animators and like everyone who's involved in this industry are like, yo, you guys are squeezing us way too thin. Can we please get more of this pie? Because like all these companies are making record profits. Like during the pandemic, all the big companies made record profits.
yeah,
Look,
streaming
man,
services
and
and
it's the thing. That's kind of how we set up, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what capitalism is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But see,
All
if
right.
you're and it's interesting because a lot of people talk about
I'm
independent.
not happy about it.
That's
know,
the truth.
A lot of people talk about being independent. This is where you see where being independent. And I look at it like how Tyler Perry did his deal, where everything he does is specifically on him. Like he doesn't have to worry about what's going on per se because
Yeah.
everything he does is in
He's like
house.
siloed and isolated.
Yeah,
And hopefully
So-
he's paying his
Perry.
actors and writers, a fair deal on residuals and streaming and everything that he does.
Right. But I've never heard of anybody's having any. Like I said, I haven't really seen much, and I don't really follow him like that per se. But just him as an example of owning, being independent. As long as you pay your people want to be around. So that just sometimes not being dealing with those big corporations and going independent obviously is a whole deal. You know what I mean? So not everybody can do that. But it just goes to show sometimes that if you can go that route or you get together and go that route and you can skirt the bigger companies, it could be beneficial in the long run because all the residuals for Tyler Perry come to him. And he disperses it towards his actors and whatnot. But it's just it's like I'm watching now when it comes to being a boss versus working for somebody. Sometimes not everybody can become a boss, obviously. But just sometimes you look at certain things, you're like, man, sometimes this is why it goes like this versus this. You know what I mean? Yes, not every, like I said before.
Like a difference in values. And like Blue mentioned, we live in a capitalistic society, which means corporations rule and their values
Profits.
are always money related.
Profits.
Lampy with a point here at the end. The problem with streaming, Casey, is that the profit doesn't come from your viewing it. Your viewing of a show / movie actually costs them money. How do you divide that subscription cost up and attribute it to a movie / show? To be fair, Lampy, that is not our problem.
I was gonna say that. Oh my
Like
god,
that's not our problem.
I was gonna
That
say the
they
same
built this
exact
service,
thing.
they built this distribution method. Like if you're gonna hire
That's
people
on
to do
them,
that
son.
work, you have to pay them. Like
That had nothing
wherever
to do
that
with
money's
me.
at, you have to pay them fairly.
Now, if you got to charge me $50 a month, I'm gonna turn it off. I promise you.
Yeah, I
You know
mean,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and that's the divide.
It's up
Because
See
to
that?
you
See,
yeah,
that's
to
and
the
make
other
that
end.
yeah,
That's
and
service.
the
that's
other
what
end of it.
Fast App
This,
said. Yeah,
this is why I said earlier. Where who's gonna really pay for it more
yeah,
in the
it's
long
gonna be
run?
us. You're right.
It's gonna be
No, no,
us.
no, no. But this is the thing. When you say it's gonna be us, like I said, if it hits that $50 a month, it's not gonna be us.
Because we're gonna stop paying for it. Yeah,
Say what?
But there's gonna be a lot of people who is gonna stop paying for that.
you're right. Yeah, there's a
And they're
push
gonna
and pull
find
there.
other ways. I'm just trying to say, like,
And
if you really gonna put it on the public, trust and believe the public will fold after a while.
the thing is like it's this whole system is built in this way, especially like when the corporations are telling you this story. It's built in this way to make you think, all right, well, if we have to pay these people all this money, then we're gonna have to raise all these prices. But they conveniently
No.
leave out the fact that all of their top brass are walking away with
Yes.
millions and
Yes,
millions
millions
and
of dollars,
sometimes
yeah.
billions and
Exactly.
billions of dollars. It's like you guys don't need that much money. This company is profitable. You could cut off the very top of some of that payment and actually pay all the people for this problem without raising prices for the consumers. They just don't. They just don't do that. And
Need
that's
that next
that is
mansion
the
or
issue.
yacht.
And we're not going to fix that by sitting on a podcast complaining about it. But at the
Yeah.
very least, we can at least let people know like that's what the problem is, and maybe don't get so comfortable. Like, don't get so comfortable paying that money for these studios to continuously make themselves richer. Like, it doesn't need to be said that we're all here in support of writers, actors, creatives in general. There's some talk about like being blindly supportive of unions in general, which I understand. Like not all unions are, great. Like, not all of them have the best interest at heart for their members and whatnot. That's an entirely different thing. But just in general, pay creatives, especially if you like the stuff that they do. I think that's the moral of the story here. And we'll keep watching this to see how this progresses. Because right now, it does seem like a stalemate. I've not seen anything about talks moving one way or another. As I was actually just looking up to see if there was any movement on this since we originally started talking about this and when these strikes
Yeah.
began like a
Yeah, I
month
mean,
ago.
and that kind of sucks where like the smallest person that does their show like on Broadway or Little This and That are the ones really getting squeezed to kind of need that money to pay the next month's rent, or this phone bill. That's what's the worst part about when you have stuff like this is the normal person that's just trying to make it. Now they might be 3 or 4 months back on rent or this or that or whatever the case may be.
Well, to
with
help mitigate that, they
Yeah.
have things like the Entertainment Community Fund and
Oh, yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
had mentioned it earlier. So it's not like I'm not going to say that they're not hurting, they're not struggling, but I believe that they're surviving and folks are helping them survive right now. So I think, and we just got to keep positive for these folks. I think at the end of the day, keep them well.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain they have the majority, I'll say, of the public's support.
Yeah.
And Lampy also bringing up talented creatives who don't get the same recognition: editors, VFX artists, audio engineers, riggers, set designers. Yeah, all of these movie folks, all these like animation folks, all of these pieces that make like media, all the stuff that we consume to the point that we sit on a podcast and talk about it for 2 hours. Like, please pay them. Please pay them. Like I will accept moderate, sensible increases in the pricing of products that are good and work for me. Like as a consumer, like I subscribe to several streaming services because I like the content they make. If that stuff
Yeah.
dries up, like what's the purpose? If that stuff becomes AI generated nonsense, like I'm not gonna sit there and watch it. Like you need creatives to make that stuff work. Just pay them.
On the vein of that, real quick, I think this kind of my personal final point on this. I was talking to my brother yesterday. He came over and we watched They Clone Tyrone.
Oh, I just
Very
watched that. I
fun.
did not even mention it.
Oh my gosh, it was great. I don't know how I didn't mention it, but it was great. It was great. I'll tell you, the soundtrack is good, and that also hurts once you understand the movie. But we were talking about Netflix, and we went into Black Mirror, and I told him, I said, you know what? Whenever Black Mirror drops a season, I believe it's worth that 15 or 16, $17 a month for that month. Whenever they drop a season, because Black Mirror is worth that money
Mm-hmm.
alone. And if you watch this latest season, the very first episode, Joan is Awful. They talk a lot about the end user license agreements and what we sign away when we're signing up for these streaming services, and um, our likeliness and how studios can use it and stuff like that. I thought it was really, really fun. And I think it was like intentionally timed as well when
Mm.
they dropped that,
Interesting.
because this strike did not happen overnight. Um, it was definitely brewing, and there's no way that Netflix didn't know, especially the creatives behind Black Mirror. So I thought that was just, if you haven't watched it already, check out Black Mirror, the latest season, episode 1. It's a really fun ride. But I thought that was a little eye opening on, or it was a different way to look at this situation.
But you also
Um,
too one of their episodes, not to cut you off, the one with the social score. I don't know if y'all seen that
Nosedive,
episode in the first season, the social
nosedive.
score one.
Yeah, like
It's
the
called
phone app
nosedive.
thing.
Yeah, the
It's
one with
called
the social.
nosedive.
Nosedive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and it's funny because now you see it. It's
Oh
slowly.
yeah. No, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Friggin'
like,
like I thanks to Lampy in the chat, I got an invitation to Blue Sky, and I immediately was like, where can I find Black Twitter on Blue Sky? But it's basically just that. Like it's just that over there right now.
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
But
I can't read
anyway.
your face on this.
But anyway, that's gonna do it for today's show.
I need to see this. I need to see
and
this.
I'm
Hope
telling
you
you,
guys enjoyed. Rachel, I see you in the chat. What's up? Blue, where can folks find you? What do you have coming up that they can check out?
Whew, man. First of all, it's your boy Blue Bones, BLUB0NES. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter with that same BLUB0NES. This week, I don't think I have anything scheduled, but the following week on Friday, you should see me again popping up with some more free for all fun. All right.
Nice. Fat Sacks, what do you have coming up? Where can folks find your content?
well, y'all can find me at thefatstacks.com on almost across all the socials. And today I'm gonna try to get in some Diablo in. I haven't been streaming as much. I've been streaming on YouTube and sometimes on Twitch. Try to do a little in between, but also too, if y'all need anything anime, because I've been busy with the anime stores, y'all can see in the background. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
So, of course, and then Assassination Classroom.
I have
So
to
if you
reach
guys
Chainsaw
need,
Man because the anime.
if you guys need anything anime, I did get a bunch of stuff in here not too long ago. So, you know what I mean? I always appreciate being on the show, and I appreciate the love, man, that y'all always showing your
course,
brothers.
man.
So
And as always, you guys can find me at SigmaGears9 on Twitch, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, whatever it's at. I'm there. Unfortunately, this is part of the role. But check on the Escapist site. The Escapist YouTube channel should have a new review out. Another one dropping relatively soon. Sponsored videos that I've done recently about like management sales, but pretty funny content. Check that out. New episode of Adventure is Nigh season 3, episode 1 dropped for the public. So check that out. Fantastic first episode in my opinion, and it only gets better, guys. So make sure you're watching that show. And outside of that, later today, Super Smash Sunday, Jeff and I will be back 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Open Party channel. Jump over there and join us for some King of the Hill Smash Bros. Action. And in the near future, maybe I'll have more to share about like the wedding related fundraising streams. Because that's something that I'm going to need to do at some point. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks everybody in chat for communicating, participating, and being just generally awesome folks. This has been episode 110. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye, Rachel. Appreciate it.